For Irene, everything seemed to be happening so fast. Just this morning, she was being called a thief and kicked out of her house. And now, she was going to be performing on a show tonight. She pinched herself to be sure she wasn't dreaming, and Yu-young, who was staring at her, smiled. "Come on, let's go change your wardrobe." "Thank you very much, sir," Irene said, wiping the joyous tears which had formed in her eyes. "Don't worry about that. Just get ready to perform," Jun-pyo said. As Irene walked out, Jun-pyo stared at her, recalling his old days. His story seemed similar to hers, as he had also been given a chance by someone he never expected. While they went shopping, Yu-young asked Irene, "Are you related to Mr. Jun-pyo? I mean, he did say you're someone who belonged to him." Irene didn't know Yu-young's relationship with Jun-pyo, so she didn't want to speak too much. She only said, "He's just helping me." "Come on, Mr. Jun-pyo doesn't help people just like that. I mean, everyone knows who he is. He doesn't even like people in his space, neither does he let them get close to him. And yet, he called for you to be taken shopping. Tell me the truth. I've had a crush on him for years, and I don't know how to get close to him. Please, you have to help me, Irene." Yu-young revealed her feelings to Irene. Irene stared at her in surprise. "I do not have the kind of relationship where I can recommend or try to pair you with Mr. Jun-pyo. He might get upset and kick me out of his house." Yu-young sighed. "And here I thought he had a soft spot in his heart. All right, come on, let's get you your clothes." After shopping, Yu-young brought Irene back, and she got dressed in one of the outfits. Jun-pyo also called a stylist, who came and fixed her hair and wore her makeup. Afterward, she got into Jun-pyo's car, and his driver drove them to the venue of the show. Before they came out of the car, he said, "Look at the time. It's just a few minutes past 8, and look at the date. Today is the day your career begins. I want you to start from the bottom and rise to the top so that you can value whatever you achieve in this life." Irene nodded. "Okay, sir." "Good. And also know that you'll face a lot of obstacles on your path. But if you're determined and focused, you will be successful. And as you pass the audition tonight, I will search for a good agency for you and make sure you get a manager when the time is right. Do you understand?" "I understand," she replied. "All right, now you can enter through the backstage. Once they see your face, they'll lead you in. I've already spoken to the right people." "Thank you very much, sir," Irene said once again. "I promise I won't fail you. I prefer actions to words. You can go now." Irene stepped out of the car and took deep breaths as she made her way to the backstage. Just as Jun-pyo had said, the moment she arrived, a man approached her. "Come with me, I'll take you to the dressing room," he said. She followed him into a room, where she saw different girls busy with their makeup. He said to her, "Your dress has been arranged. You'll all be wearing the same type of dress, but in different colors. Blend in with the girls and agree on what to do. When it's time and you hear the star girls being called, come out, okay?" Irene nodded and took a seat. As she sat down, she overheard the girls murmuring. She turned around and finally spotted her sister, Minji. Minji couldn't believe her eyes. "Irene, what are you doing here? Who brought this thief here? Who let her into this room?" Minji exclaimed, wanting to drag Irene out. One of the girls interjected, "Be careful with her. Didn't you see who brought her in? Haven't you noticed that our dresses are now 5? "What? But we were originally meant to be 4, Minji replied, shocked. Another girl rolled her eyes and said, "Beats my imagination. I don't know where she crawled out from." Minji stared at Irene, her body heaving with anger. She couldn't understand how Irene, who had been kicked out of the house in the morning, ended up there. She had struggled hard in the audition that brought her among these girls, even stealing Irene's song. She had put in her best effort. How could Irene now be here with her? "No, I cannot let her outshine me," Minji said to herself. Seeing that all the other girls were busy, Irene decided to go into the toilet and rehearse. Since everything had happened quickly, She wanted to make sure she didn't disappoint Jun-pyo. She believed he would be watching from his car. So she stayed in the toilet, rehearsing her lines. Meanwhile, Minji looked around and saw that the other girls were engrossed in their tasks. The dresses they were given were short, sleeveless gowns with cross lines at the back. Irene's dress was black, while Minji's was white. She noticed Irene's name attached to the gown and walked closer to it. She took a razor and cut a small part of it. Then she returned to her seat and pretended as though nothing had happened. When it was 30 minutes to the performance time, the man who had brought Irene in knocked on the door and said, "Come on, girls, get ready. It's almost time." One of the girls knocked on the door, and Irene quickly emerged. She had already done her makeup and hair, so all she needed to do was change her clothes. She took off the jeans and top she was wearing, revealing a bra top and underwear. She swiftly put on the black dress without noticing that the rope at the back of the gown was almost loose. Afterward, they were called, and they all went out. Each of them grabbed a microphone from the backstage staff who were assigned to them. In no time, they were all standing in front of a crowd. Irene's heart began to beat fast. This was her first time standing in front of such a large audience. She had sung many times before, but it was always in the comfort of her home, either with her mom back then or in front of her mirror. There were so many people cheering for them. They all stood together, each wearing a different color. One girl wore white, another blue, another green, Minji wore red, and Irene wore black. According to the arrangement, they would each sing a different verse, with all of them taking one song. They were to sing until the last verse. They would then start from the beginning. This way, they would be able to determine the top two among them. Irene had no doubt that she would be among the best, especially since Jun-pyo had told her she had an amazing voice. She was placed at the end, and they were going to sing one after the other. She could even hear some people in the crowd asking, "When did the star girls become 5? I thought they were 4. What happened? What happened?" As she waited for the event to begin, she spotted Jun-pyo in the crowd, causing her eyes to widen in surprise. She hadn't expected him to show up. His arms were folded, and he seemed to be hiding, but his gaze was fixed on her. Her heart started racing, as she didn't want to disappoint him no matter what. The first girl began singing, and Minji stood close by. The crowd fell silent, captivated by the melodious voice. After she finished her verse, the next person took their turn. Eventually, it was Irene's time to sing. Just as she was about to open her mouth, Minji placed her hand on Irene's back and pulled the already cut rope. The gown came loose, and Irene's heart skipped a beat as it almost slipped off her body. Shocked, Irene immediately let go of the microphone, which rolled on the ground, and clutched her gown, holding it tightly to her body. A part of her bra top was exposed, causing the entire crowd to gasp. She started hearing murmurs and comments like, "What's happening? It's a wardrobe malfunction. Come on, sing. She's a loser." She stood there, staring at the crowd, feeling frozen and hoping that the ground would swallow her up. She had no idea what to do. The girl at the beginning began to sing to fill the time, as they had a limited time frame. Meanwhile, Irene's gaze remained fixed on Mr. Jun-pyo as tears began to stream down her face. Irene stared at the people in the audience, observing the different expressions on their faces. Some felt pity for her, some laughed at her, while others booed and gestured with their thumbs down. As tears streamed down her face, the other girls continued to sing, and no one waited for her. After Minji, the fourth person, finished singing, the first girl resumed. Irene's microphone had already been rolled away from where she stood. Unable to bear the shame any longer, she turned around and ran away from the stage. Minji smiled, feeling victorious, and said inwardly, "Now let me see how you will be among the top 2. Irene did not stop running until she reached outside. Fearing that people might notice her and start pointing fingers at her, she searched for a quiet and hidden spot, finding solace leaning on a pillar. She covered her face with her hands and continued to cry, recalling how she had assured Mr. Jun-pyo that she would not fail him. She felt even more disappointed in herself. She knew without a doubt that what happened was not an accident, but she couldn't understand why she was so unfortunate. Before the show began, Mr. Jun-pyo had called his assistant, Ji-hoon, to come to the venue. When Ji-hoon arrived, he helped Mr. Jun-pyo find a spot where no one would recognize him. Mr. Jun-pyo didn't want anyone to be aware of his presence, except a few organizers who needed to know. Upon seeing Irene run out of the hall, he shook his head and sent a text to Ji-hoon, saying, "Check on Irene and let me know where she went." Ji-hoon quietly followed Irene, saw how she hid by a pillar, crying, and informed Jun-pyo. Jun-pyo walked up to her, still ensuring that no one was able to recognize him as he wore a hat to disguise his appearance. When he got to where she was, Jun-pyo asked, "Why are you crying?" Hearing his voice, Irene looked up to see him. She instantly got up, still clutching the torn gown in her hand as she struggled to cover her bra top. "I asked you why you're crying," Jun-pyo said, repeating himself as he noticed how the short gown revealed too much of her skin. "I'm very sorry, Mr. Jun-pyo," she said, sobbing. "Something went wrong with the clothes. I don't know. I don't know how it snapped. You should not have left the stage," Jun-pyo said coldly. I'm sorry. I'm sorry if I disappointed you. Everyone was staring at me, and I felt like a failure." "Interesting," Jun-pyo said. Folding his arms, he asked, "Are you a failure, Irene?" She looked at him in surprise, and he asked again, "Tell me, Irene, are you a failure? If you believe that you're a failure, then let's go back home. You can go back to being my maid. It's not such a bad fate. But if you're not a failure..." "I'm not a failure," Irene replied, interrupting him. "I never expected what happened today to happen, but I promise you, Mr. Jun-pyo, that I'm not a failure." "How can you prove to me that you're not a failure?" Jun-pyo asked. Irene remained silent, not knowing what to say. She didn't know how she was going to answer his question. And for the third time, Jun-pyo repeated a question. "Tell me, Irene, how can you prove to me that you're not a failure?" Irene shook her head, wanting to tell him that she had no idea. But then Jun-pyo asked, "Do you want a second chance?" "Sir, Irene began, but then loud cheers and claps from inside the hall diverted her attention. She listened intently as she heard the crowd cheering and screaming, knowing that the star girls were done singing. At this point, Irene lost all hope and said sadly, "They are done singing already, no one would." "Do you like me repeating myself, Irene?" he asked sternly. Irene shook her head. "No, sir." "Then why do I have to ask you a question more than once to get a reply?" "I asked you a question, Irene. Do you want a second chance?" Yes, sir, I want a second chance," Irene said firmly. Jun-pyo observed her for a while, took out his phone, and called his assistant. "What I asked you to do, get it done right now," he said. "Okay, boss, I'll do that right away," Ji-hoon replied. In one of the changing rooms, Na-bai, a 22-year-old artist who was waiting to perform, sat in front of a wide mirror as a makeup artist worked on her face. After a while, she pushed the makeup artist to the side and stared at herself in the mirror. "What is this? What do you think you're doing? Why did you ruin my face?" she exclaimed. "What are you saying?" the makeup artist asked, feeling offended. "What I'm doing on your face is what is trendy. This is what I do for other singers." "Oh, shut up. Shut the hell up. What do you know? Look at how you've ruined my face. Is this how I'm supposed to look for my show?" Her assistant interjected. "Miss Na-bai, actually." The words had barely left her assistant's mouth when Na-bai got up and slapped her so hard. "Shut the hell up, you loser. How dare you bring me this incompetent fool? And now you're trying to justify her actions? Do you know I can get you fired?" "I'm sorry," her assistant said, crying. At this point, the makeup artist lost it and said, What do you think of yourself, Nabai, or whatever your name is? You're not even a star yet, and you will most likely never be one. You're just a third-grade singer, struggling to get noticed by everyone. There's nothing special about you, and yet, you're so full of yourself. Get out of this room. Nabai yelled. Get lost right now. I'm leaving, the makeup artist said and angrily left with her box. Her assistant, Eun-ji, placed her hand on her cheek where Nabai had slapped her. It wasn't the first time, but her cheek burned with pain, and more tears fell from her eyes. What are you crying for now? Nabai asked. If you don't want me to hit you, why do you bring such useless people to me? I asked you to get in touch with a professional makeup artist, and you brought me that piece of trash. Now look at my face. I am supposed to go out there in 30 minutes, and now I'm going to spend the whole time trying to fix my face up instead of getting ready for my show. I'm sorry. I'm very sorry, Eun-ji said. Nabai angrily took out things from her bag and wiped off the makeup the artist had done on her face. She began to do her makeup herself, and at that moment, there was a knock on the door. Open the door, she ordered her assistant, who nodded and went to open the door. The moment the door opened, Eun-ji stared at the man standing outside the shop. Sir, can I come in? Jun-pyo's assistant asked. Of course, sir. You can come in, Eun-ji replied. She stood at the side while Ji-hoon walked in. Just as he entered the room, Nabai turned and saw him. At that moment, she got up and smiled. Hi, sir. Is there anything I can do for you? Everyone knew who Jun-pyo's assistant was because Jun-pyo rarely gave people an audience in public. Ji-hoon was the one who normally spoke, so most people were familiar with his face, and Nabai was one of them. She showed him much respect, putting aside the haughty attitude she had shown earlier. Do you know Mr. Jun-pyo? Ji-hoon asked. She smiled shyly. Of course. Who doesn't know Mr. Jun-pyo? That's nice. I'm aware that you'll be performing in 30 minutes, Ji-hoon said. Nabai nodded. Yes, I will. That's nice. Mr. Jun-pyo wants a favor from you. Me? Nabai was surprised. Mr. Jun-pyo knows me? Yes, he knows you. I mean, you sing pretty well. Why wouldn't he know you? He needs a favor from you. Ji-hoon replied. What is it? Just tell me. What do I need to do? Whatever it is, I'll do it. Ji-hoon nodded. I know that you are to sing a song to end the show. Yes, she replied. Can you give it up? Ji-hoon asked. Give what up? Nabai could not understand. Ji-hoon folded his arms. Mr. Jun-pyo wants you to give up your spot to sing. He wants someone else to sing in your stead. Mr. Jun-pyo doesn't want me to sing? Why? Nabai suddenly lost her enthusiasm, and the earlier smile she had put on disappeared. Ji-hoon continued. If you can agree to his request, he'll give you the opportunity to perform the closing song at an international event. What do you say? Will you give up this performance for one at the international event? Nabai's eyes widened in shock. Me? Seeing that Irene was still crying, Jun-pyo dipped his hand into his pocket, took out his handkerchief, and offered it to her. She stared at his hand, hesitating to take it from him, but he said, Go ahead, take it. Thank you, sir, she replied as she accepted the handkerchief and wiped her tears. When she was done wiping, Jun-pyo said, If you break down so easily, how can you get to the top? How can you become a star if it's so easy to turn you into a crying vegetable? And what's up with your dress? Well, I think someone cut off the rope, Irene sniffled. It's your fault, Jun-pyo said. It's no one else's fault but yours. Irene was surprised. She could not understand how it was her fault that someone plotted against her. Jun-pyo saw the look on her face and knew that she did not understand his words, so he began to explain. You should know that people try to one-up each other at events like this. That's how the world of showbiz is. So you should always be prepared. I looked at the girls who were singing with you and discovered that one of them is your sister. Am I wrong? Irene was surprised. How did you recognize? Forget about that. You were the one who told me that she treated you horribly and stole a song you wrote, weren't you? Irene nodded. Yes, I was. So why weren't you alert? I can bet my life on the fact that she was the one who sabotaged your dress. You should have been more alert and not given her a chance to do that. When you're in a place like this, you have to be alert at all times. You should always be ready for anything they throw at you. You don't turn your back on your opponent. Even if you stood together with those girls, you're competing against each other. Only 2 of you will be selected as the best from this event, and finally, only one of you will be signed by the agency hosting it. You should always look around in places like this. Why did you give your sister the chance to humiliate you? I usually don't give people second chances, Irene, and I especially hate people who are weak. But I'm feeling particularly generous tonight. You have 20 minutes to prepare yourself to perform the last song at this event. What? Irene could not believe her ears. I thought only well-known singers. She stuttered. Stop stuttering and listen. My assistant will wait for you at the door. Go back to your room and get ready. He will give you a new dress to put on, not this one. You told me you've written so many songs before, isn't it? Irene nodded. Yes, sir. Good. Pick out one of the best and prepare yourself to sing. You said you wanted a second chance. This is your second chance, Irene. This time around, when you get into that room, guard your belongings properly. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you, Irene said gratefully. As she turned to walk away, Jun-pyo added, and Irene. She stopped and turned to look at him. I hope you'll not disappoint me this time. Irene shook her head. No, I'll definitely not disappoint you. Thank you so much, sir. Afterward, she ran inside. Jun-pyo stared at her as she ran away and smiled. He took out his phone and called the top judge of the event. The judge quickly answered when he saw that Jun-pyo was the one calling him. He went out to take the call and said, Sir, I saw what happened to your girl. Forget about that. I want to say something. She'll be performing as the last candidate. I have taken out the girl who was to perform and kept her in place of that girl, Jun-pyo explained. The chief judge heaved a sigh of relief and said, Okay, that's really nice. I was already worried since she's your candidate, and from what happened, I can tell that she was sabotaged. It's a good thing you were able to figure that out. I'm trusting you'll be able to do what's right and punish those who need to be punished, Jun-pyo replied. Of course, I'll definitely do that, sir, the judge assured. Since she's your candidate, I will ensure that she comes out as... No, I don't want that, Jun-pyo said. I want her to get a fair chance. A fair chance, the judge confirmed. Yes, what I mean is that if she comes out among the top 2, it should be because she merits it, Jun-pyo explained. So, you don't want me to assist or give her preferential treatment? That's what I said, Jun-pyo responded. I want to make Irene into a star. I want her to become the new sensation because I've seen that she's talented. But then, I want her to learn how to be strong, and I want her to be able to fight for what's rightfully hers. I don't want things to be handed to her. Yes, I'll give her opportunities, but she has to merit them. So tonight, if she doesn't meet your expectations, let me know before you announce the result. And if she does, give it to her. That's what I'm requesting of you. Okay, I understand you, Mr. Jun-pyo. I'll do just as you've asked, the judge agreed. That's nice, Jun-pyo said. Come and see me sometime in my office. Thank you very much, sir. I'll surely do that, the judge replied. Meanwhile, Irene hurried towards the room from which she had earlier come out. On the way, she saw Jun-pyo's assistant, and when she met him, he stopped her and said, Hold on, Irene. Since she didn't know he was there and had been anxious, she didn't notice him on time. When he called her, she stopped and stared at him. He handed a dress to her and said, This is what you're to wear. I don't know if it's your size because it's what was recommended for the initial performer, but you both seem to have the same body shape, so I think it should suit you. Anyway, just make it work. Thank you so much, sir, thank you, Irene replied gratefully. Go to your room and get ready. I'll come and knock once it's time, okay? Ji-hoon instructed. Thank you, Irene said once again. She took the dress from him and ran towards the door. When she reached the door of the room, she heard the voices of the girls inside, and her heart began to race. She knew she was going to face them, and the main thought of how she had been humiliated the first time made her get cold feet. However, when she recalled that she had gotten a second chance from Jun-pyo, and she had to prove herself, she placed her hands on the doorknob and opened it before going inside. As Irene entered the room, two of the girls turned to stare at her and began to laugh. Minji was the one who laughed the loudest. She folded her arms and said, "Ah, her eyes are puffy. Has the crybaby been crying tonight? You were the one who sabotaged my dress, weren't you?" Irene asked Minji. Minji shook her head and retorted, "Wait, you're not satisfied with being a failure. Now you're going to embarrass yourself here by accusing me of things I know nothing about?" The other girls in the room joined in laughing, and one even said to Minji, "Come on, why are you entertaining her? Don't bother with her, Minji, she's beneath us. From the very start, she wasn't supposed to be among us. We worked hard to get to this stage, and only God knows who she slept with in order to sneak in. But she has learned her place, so you shouldn't waste your breath on her." Irene stared at all of them without saying another word, holding her clothes tightly to herself. She remembered what Jun-pyo had said and walked toward the toilet wanting to rehearse since she had less than 20 minutes. As she got to the door, Minji noticed the dress she was holding and said, "Hey, where are you going with that dress? What are you planning to do?" She walked over to where Irene was and wanted to take the dress from her, but Irene pushed her away. "Respect yourself, Minji. You and I have nothing to do with each other. Do not speak to me, do you understand? I'm sure English isn't so difficult for you to understand." After that, Irene walked into the toilet and closed the door while Minji scoffed. "Did you all see that? She's finally got some nerves. I can't believe this. Just forget about her. She's just a pathetic loser," one of the girls who was Minji's friend said. Irene once again blocked out the noise from the room and began to focus on the song she was going to sing. She recalled one of the songs she had in mind. She had written it years ago after her mom died. It was titled, "I Miss You." She wanted to sing it, as it was an emotional song that reminded her of her mom. After rehearsing the song over and over again, Irene quickly put on the dress and stared at her reflection in the mirror. Indeed, crying earlier had made her eyes puffy, but there was nothing she could do about it. Her long and soft, wavy hair cascaded down her back, making her look more beautiful. She convinced herself that she wasn't looking too bad, and when she saw that it was 5 minutes to time, she came out of the room, and all the girls began staring at her. Minji couldn't contain her jealousy anymore and walked up to her. "Why are you so beautifully dressed? What are you up to, Irene? Hope you're not trying to make a fool of yourself once again." While Minji was still speaking, they heard a knock on the door. "Come in," Minji said. The door was pushed open and a young lady peered into the room as she said, "Can Miss Irene step out, please?" Irene nodded and replied, "Yes." She walked gracefully out of the room without giving the girls another look. When she came out, she saw Ji-hoon standing beside the door. He said to the lady, "Thank you very much," and turned to face Irene. "It's time for you to perform. Come on, you'll be called any moment from now." As she stood closer to the stage, Irene tried to control the rapid breathing of her heart. She was feeling very nervous, especially because of what had happened the first time she came on stage. While she waited to be called, she took in deep breaths until eventually she became calm. She closed her eyes and opened them when she heard the MC say that they wanted to listen to a sensational singer whose performance will bring the show to a close. Some in the audience who had already heard about who was going to be singing were expecting to see Na-bai, as she had a lot of people who liked her. So when Irene was the one who came out, they were all shocked. Minji came out of the room a few minutes after Irene did and ran outside, but she couldn't find her. She did not expect Irene to be called on stage, so she did not bother going in that direction. At this point, Jun-pyo had already made his way to the same spot at the back, where he had earlier been. He sat there staring at her as she walked out, trying her best to look as graceful as possible. Irene's father and stepmom had watched how she was humiliated on stage earlier and couldn't stop themselves from laughing. On the contrary, they were so proud of Minji and could not stop singing her praises and how beautiful she looked while she sang. As they waited for the show to come to an end, they also expected to see Nabai close the show. They stared at their TV in shock when Irene turned out to be the last singer. Irene stared at the crowd before her, and some began to boo at her again. She wondered if there were maybe Minji's friends or people who just naturally hated her, but she blocked out the noise. She looked at the crowd to see if she could find Mr. Jun-pyo, but she did not see him. She concluded that perhaps he was in his car watching her performance. Maybe he didn't want her to embarrass him a second time. She placed her hands around the mic, closed her eyes, and began to sing. As she sang, she recalled her moments with her mom when she was much younger, and tears began to slip from her eyes. Her voice was so angelic that when she sang, her melodious tone enchanted those listening, leaving them captivated by the sheer beauty and purity of her vocal talent. Her voice carried a unique blend of innocence and maturity, evoking a wide range of emotions in her audience. Everyone watched her in silence, and it seemed as though time stood as her voice was the only thing that could be heard. Irene looked perfect. The gown she wore was a black sequin gown with glistening stones. Although it wasn't really her size, it was still able to accentuate her curves, making her look like a beautiful work of art. As Jun-pyo stared at her, he knew there was no denying it. He had fallen for Irene. However, in his books, a girl like Irene was off limits. She was just 18. How could I have fallen for an 18-years-old girl? He asked himself. He could not look away from her, even for a second. Like so many in the audience, he was held spellbound and his heart welled up with pride as though Irene belonged to him. When the song came to an end, it felt as though everyone came out of a trance, and the crowd erupted in applause as the audience began to cheer and clap for her. Irene, whose eyes were now opened, stared at the crowd in shock, not believing what had happened. Did I really do this? She wondered, as she heard some in the crowd scream, "I love you." Irene realized that her dreams were really coming true. Back in the dressing room, Minji and the other girls who watched Irene's performance could not believe it. After searching unsuccessfully for her, Minji had concluded that Irene had left the venue. It was only when she went back to the room that she realized that Irene was performing the last song. What went wrong? Why is she the one performing? Minji was the most upset about this because she knew that their performance, all put together, was nothing close to what Irene had done. "No, this cannot be happening," Minji cried and ran out of the room. Meanwhile, Nabai also watched Irene's performance and was shocked because even she couldn't have been able to perform so perfectly. It was a new song, yet everyone had been moved by it. She was really impressed by Irene. After Irene's performance, Jun-pyo left the hall and went to his car. He asked his driver to leave and waited for her. The moment she left the stage, Jun-pyo's assistant led Irene to the car where Jun-pyo was waiting. He had already sent his driver home, so he was the only one in the car. At this point, the judge who had earlier spoken to Jun-pyo now understood why Jun-pyo had said he shouldn't give Irene preferential treatment. Even though Jun-pyo had not said anything, nothing would have stopped him from choosing Irene as the winner. It couldn't be more obvious that she was born to be a star. While Jun-pyo was waiting in the car, the judge, who couldn't contain his excitement, called him and said, "Your candidate is the winner. She's the best, one of the best star girls we've ever had." Jun-pyo was so happy. Wow, that's good news. I'll follow protocol just as you've said and break the news to her in 2 days. The judge said. That's fine, Jun-pyo replied. The moment the call ended, Ji-hoon opened the door of the car and Irene got in. She wanted to sit at the back, but when she realized that Jun-pyo was the one driving, she went to the passenger seat beside him. She looked at Jun-pyo and tears began to fall from her eyes. Why are you crying again? Jun-pyo asked. Didn't you cry enough while on stage? Irene chuckled. It is different, sir. These are tears of joy. You're such a crybaby. He replied. But you did well. Keep it up, Irene, and I promise that you'll soar beyond the sky. You should prepare thoroughly because very soon you'll be contacted to learn of the results. Unknown to Nabai that Irene would leave immediately after performing, she ran out of the room and searched around for her, but she couldn't find her. She cursed under her breath. I should have searched for her earlier. She had come to realize that Irene was someone close to Jun-pyo, since he was able to go to such lengths to ensure that Irene performed. If she wanted to make it to the top, she needed to make Irene her friend. This was why she ran out, but she couldn't find Irene anywhere and gave up for the time being. Minji searched for Irene. She needed to know how she was able to make it to such a position, but she still couldn't find her. As he drove back home, Jun-pyo said to Irene, "Because you impressed me in a few days, I will give you a gift." "Thank you very much, sir," Irene beamed. That night, she felt as though she would die from happiness. She could barely sleep. She kept turning around the bed, recalling the moment she had sung. She wished she could see her performance, but she didn't have her phone with her, so she promised herself that she'd go back home and get it the next day. No matter what her parents did, the phone was hers. She bought it with her hard-earned money, and everything else that belonged to her, she was going to take. As she woke up the next morning, she decided to do some chores. Jun-pyo had told her to focus on practicing her songs. She knew that she was initially brought to be a maid, so she still wanted to help around. She went to the kitchen to help the chef, but she bumped into the housekeeper, Mi-sun, on her way. Mi-sun stared condescendingly at her and said, "A cheap wannabe trying to climb the ladder by all means. You should stop having big dreams and focus on your job as a servant." Shocked, Irene was about to tell her that it was unkind for her to say such things, but the chef, Soo-ah, came behind and said to Mi-sun, "Stop being so rude to her. What's wrong with you? You're just jealous. Come with me, Irene. You have no idea how proud we are of you. I'm so happy for you. I watched your performance. It was spectacular." "Really? You thought it was amazing?" Irene asked Soo-ah excitedly. "Oh my god, it was beyond amazing. I wished I was there." Soo-ah replied. Irene was so happy. She instantly took a liking to Soo-ah and could see themselves being best of friends in no time. This thought had barely left her mind when Jun-pyo's voice thundered, calling for all the servants to gather. Irene was surprised as she had not heard him speak that way before. She, along with every other domestic staff, ran to the formal living room, where Jun-pyo was seething with rage. As they all gathered, he asked, "Who went into my bedroom and stole my jade necklace? Thieves in my house." "No, not me. Not me," everyone denied. "Listen to me, everyone. I've already called the police and they are on their way here. Stealing will not be condoned in my house, especially when it involves something that is so important to me. You had better come out and speak the truth now if you know you did it, because if the police officers get here, I will make sure you are punished thoroughly." Mi-sun stepped forward, and Jun-pyo thought she wanted to confess that she was the one who did it. However, she pointed at Irene and said, "It was Irene. She was the one who stole it." "What?" Jun-pyo was shocked. Everyone turned their attention to Irene. Irene shook her head and said, "No, I did not. I could never do that." "You were the one who stole it," Mi-sun insisted. "I saw you last night, snooping around Mr. Jun-pyo's door. Did you, or did you not go to Mr. Jun-pyo's room last night?" Irene took a step backward and said, I. She lowered her head while Jun-pyo stared at her in surprise as he asked, Irene, you stole from me? Thank you for watching. Kindly subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell so as to get notified when we drop new stories. Like and share to family and friends, and finally tell us where you're watching from in the comment section, and we will see you in our next video.